Cannabis stocks have seen some pretty wild swings over the years. So I thought this time around, let's take a look at Tilray. Just this year, we've seen it trade up to, 65, 66. At the moment, it's trading down at $13. So is this a buying opportunity down here, or is there more weakness to come? Tilray came to the market about 3 years ago. It had a great IPO. This year has been, I think, similarly volatile if we zoom in. So it came into this year trading around $8 a share, and then incredibly ran up above 66 by the middle of February. Caught up in the whole Wall Street Bets Reddit meme. We saw the likes of GameStop, AMC, of course, move higher. But since then, I mean, that was pretty short-lived. You know, you can see how quick it reversed. A couple of days, then it was back to, $30. So it halved after hitting that high. And since then, we've seen it in a fairly steady decline. You know, at the time of recording, ahead of the market open, it's traded back to where it was right at the beginning of the year, back in Jan. So we're on a 6-month low. So I thought, let's take a look at it in a bit more detail and see if there's an opportunity here. So as usual, I'll talk a bit about the recent news, look ahead to the next earnings, then we'll come back onto the chart and see where the trade might be. Hello, I'm David Jones from Capital.com, and I thought this time around we'd take a look at Tilray. As you saw, it's been quite the year this year for the stock. It's looking pretty weak at the time of recording, but I thought let's take a look at it in a bit more detail. So as usual in this video, I'll talk a bit about the recent news around the stock, the levels to watch, then we'll jump back onto the platform and look at the charts in a bit more detail. If you're watching this and you haven't subscribed, if you could, click on subscribe. It does help support the channel. And of course, every Friday now at 2:30 UK time, we do a live stream where I look at a whole host of different markets in real time. If you're subscribed to our YouTube channel with your notifications switched on, you get a message off YouTube just as we're about to go live. Right, let's get into it and take a look at Tilray in a bit more detail. So just in case you're not aware of what Tilray does, it's a Canadian pharmaceutical and cannabis company that was founded back in 2014. The company came to the market, so you could buy stocks in it from July 2018. That's when the company IPO'd, and it was the first cannabis company to be listed on a major US stock exchange. So lots of investor attention, not surprisingly. So it came to the market, it started trading at $17 in July 2018, had a good day, but it got even better from there. So by September of that year, the stock had traded as high as $214. So a massive move from that initial IPO. This year, it's been a pretty volatile year as well. It came into this year below about $9 a share. We've seen it trade above $66 earlier in the year. And this is, I think, because it got caught up in the whole Reddit Wall Street Bets meme stock phenomenon that we saw at the beginning of the year for the likes of GameStop and AMC. But it is well off those February highs. There has been some pressure on the sector more recently, so the broader sector of these cannabis stocks. And it's really around the uncertainty about decisions by the federal government to legalize cannabis in the US. So that has, I think, led to some nerves amongst investors. The latest earnings for the company were a few months ago. They ended up being worse than expected, and the focus now is for the earnings coming out at the end of July. The market is expecting a loss of around 7 cents per share. We'll see whether it disappoints again this time around, or we get a bit more of a positive surprise. But let's take a look at the levels to watch, then we'll jump back onto the chart. So lots of sort of highs left on the way down. For me, the most immediate hurdle on the upside, $19.25 a share from later in June. And then for me, the next immediate low, it's a long way away, but it's a pretty volatile stock. You know, we've got wide bands of support and resistance here. Comes in around $13.40. But as usual, to put some color on these numbers, let's jump on the chart and take a look at things in a bit more detail. When I look at some of these massively volatile stocks, I think it is difficult to trade them quite sensibly. You know, I think we have an element of FOMO going on, the fear of missing out. in Feb as the price really ran away. I'm sure anybody who bought on the rise and is still sat with it is perhaps regretting the move now. But as we have seen things calm down over recent months, I do wonder if there is an opportunity here. Let's zoom in on what's been happening so far this year. I thought let's kick things off by looking at the moving average. We've got a 20-day moving average on here. And I suppose it's given perhaps somewhat mixed signals over the last few months. We had, for example, a buy signal in May, late May, as the price moved through about $16 a share. Then it reversed the position as the price fell back through, 17 or 18 in June. And at the moment, it's still short. So the 20-day moving average is suggesting that the trend is still down. From eyeballing the market, we'll have a look at the price action in a second. But for me, that trend is still down as well. But perhaps we're getting back to levels where things start to look interesting again. Before we get into that, let's take a look at the RSI. Not surprising, given the weakness that we've seen. The RSI has gone oversold. It's actually went oversold the middle of July when the price was around $16 a share. The price has carried on lower since then. But this is the most oversold the RSI has been. We've got to go back all the way to sort of September last year when the price was down around $5, $6 a share. So we've got a pretty extreme reading on the RSI. As I often say, just because the RSI is oversold doesn't mean the market is going to turn around. But perhaps it's something to bear in mind, how extreme the recent moves have been. Let's take a look at the price action. So for me at the moment, that trend is still down. We'll have a look at the trend on the shorter term chart in a minute. But perhaps where it gets a bit more interesting, looking at what was going on in December last year, we saw the stock run up towards $10, had another look again the 16th of December, and finally broke it in January and got a move on. So I do wonder, as we edge closer to 10, 10, psychological round number, perhaps we will see some interest, some buyers coming back out if we do see the price slip down to here. I think if we slip below 10, we're just going to slip back into the range we were in sort of November, December, so perhaps between $6 and $10 a share. So for me, if I was looking to be a buyer, I wouldn't be a buyer yet because the trend is still down, but perhaps around $10, it starts to get a bit more interesting. Let's take a look at the latest leg of the trend from about June. We'll flip over to a short-term chart. So this is where we are on the trend. So I've picked up on the highs from the 9th of June. They're up around, $23 a share, just ahead of that. We've got a succession of lower highs, lower lows. At the moment, we need to see the price break through at least $16 to shake off this weakness. This is on the hourly chart we're looking at. As I said, I'm recording this ahead of the market open. We're probably going to see these open lower. We've seen a weak out of hours market when it comes to futures. So perhaps we'll see them under a bit more pressure this afternoon, breaking through that old low from the middle of May. So at the moment, at least, that trend is still down. So for me, as a technical analyst and a trend follower, I wouldn't be looking to do anything just yet. And if we take the chart right out, you can see there really isn't much until we get back towards that $10 psychological area. So I think while this trend is still in place, and as I've taken the chart out, you could actually pick it up off the March highs as well. So we're about 4 months into this. While this trend is in place, it's very rare that a stock does a handbrake turn. Of course, we have these exceptions when we see this massive volatility like we had in February. But it's very rare that suddenly it goes from 13 to 25. So I think a bit of patience with this one. See if it can shake off this weakness. Perhaps the earnings at the end of this month end up being the catalyst. But for me, the risk now, any strength just ends up being met with more selling for Tilray. That's it for the update in Tilray. We'll see how they fare when these earnings come out at the end of July, if it can do anything to change this current trend of weakness. But for now, from me, David Jones and Capital.com, we'll leave things there. Good luck with your trading. For more trading videos just like this, please subscribe to our channel.